Let's talk tips for keeping your curls looking great between wash days. If you're new here, my name is Michelle. I'm a licensed hairstylist with over 20 years of experience, and on this channel, I use those years of experience to help you have healthy, happy hair. Tip number one is probably the most important, and that is your wash day routine. The products that you use on wash day are going to determine how long your curls are going to last until your next wash day. So a lot of it is going to come down to the results that you like to see on your wash day. So for instance, I have soft, fluffy, voluminous hair today, and this is a really good look. I like it a lot. However, this is not something that is going to last me without having to do something with it to help it along in between wash days until my next wash day. Versus there are some routines that I do that will last me for a good 3 days, with me only having to get up in the morning and shake my hair out, let it settle for a little bit, and we're good to go. It'll just bounce right back, and there might be a little bit more frizz, a little bit more volume, but overall, there isn't a whole lot that I have to do with it. But the products that I use to create that are going to be very different than the products that I used to create this. And the more hard holding something is, or more firm holding something is, the longer it's going to last. It's also probably going to give you a little bit more definition, which is another thing that helps your curls last from one wash day to the next. The more definition you have on day one, the more likely you are to have more defined curls throughout the subsequent days. Also, adding hairspray into your routine somewhere is a game changer for longevity. And I typically spray hairspray in before I diffuse my hair, but you can also diffuse your hair to about 50 or so percent dry, spray in some hairspray, continue drying your hair, or you can spray it in at the end. I definitely recommend spraying it in either before you start diffusing or in the middle of diffusing in order to get the most out of it. I just find that that really holds a lot better than just a finishing spritz all over. However, that finishing spritz can certainly help to also lock everything in once you're done. If you're struggling to put together a good wash day routine and how to layer products, I do have a series on here called Shop My Stash Curly Combos, and that's where I choose my products on camera. I talk about why I'm choosing the products that I'm choosing based on the results that I'm after, and I talk about why I'm combining this product with this product and adding this product, and why I'm layering the things that I'm layering or cocktailing the things that I'm cocktailing. And I do that so that you can hear my thought process and my reasoning, and then apply that to your own stash and your own products and your hair, and be able to come up with a routine that works well for you based on what you're seeing and what you're hearing from me. I do also a lot of times show you how well it held up on day 2, so then you'll be able to determine based on what you're seeing and what I'm saying as far as the results that I'm getting on day 1 as to how long everything lasts going forward. Tip number 2 is going to be have good sleep protection. This is definitely, along with the first one, probably these first 2 are the most important tips in order to get the most longevity out of your hair. If you have great sleep protection, then it's going to help your curls last until your next wash day. And there are a number of different ways that you can protect your hair when sleeping at night. You can put in a bonnet, you can use a silk scarf, you can put your hair all up in the top of your head in a high ponytail, oftentimes called a pineapple, or you can do what I call the octopus butt, which is just kind of a bun on the top of my head where the ends of my hair are kind of sticking out and the bun is back here, so it kind of looks like the octopus body and the tentacles sticking out. It looks more like an octopus on my daughter's hair because her hair is a lot longer than mine. But on mine, it's kind of a baby octopus. I don't know. Anyway, you can do something like that. Sleep with a silk pillowcase. Drape your hair over the silk pillowcase if you don't like putting it up, or if none of the other things work, like wearing things on your head when you're sleeping. If those things don't work for you, you can do a silk pillowcase or a satin pillowcase, and you can kind of combine any of the above. So you can put your hair all up in a bun or a pineapple and sleep on a silk pillowcase, and the two combined will reduce friction on your hair so you won't end up with as much frizz. The only thing about putting it up is that anytime that you're putting it in something, it is going to kind of stretch and pull on the curls a little bit. However, if you used something really strong holding and something that gives a lot of definition, your curls may be resistant to getting stretched out and pulled out while you put your hair up in a pineapple or a bun. So those two things, your routine and your sleep protection, are going to work in conjunction, and those are going to be probably the most important things you can do to get longevity out of your wash days. Tip number 3 is going to be refreshing. So your refreshing techniques, your refreshing products. I highly recommend, before doing any kind of refreshing whatsoever, is let your hair settle. Take it out of the bun, take it out of the pineapple, out of the bonnet, silk scarf, whatever. Take it out of something like that and just let it settle for a good 15-20 minutes. And a lot of times your hair will kind of spring back, bounce up, and revert back to its original form, or at least pretty close to it. So you might find that after letting your hair settle, you really don't need to do much of anything to your hair at all, or you might not have to do anything other than fluff it and go. So let your hair settle, first of all, to see exactly what you need to do to it, and then try using the most minimal amount of intervention necessary to get your hair to bounce back. And probably the most minimal amount of intervention is going to be using steam on your hair. You can use a facial steamer, or I just use a clothes steamer that I got from Target, and I just hover it around my hair. I'll leave it in one spot that I feel needs it a little bit more for a little bit longer. And I find that just adding that little extra bit of steam sometimes is all that my hair needs, and it'll bounce right back up and I'll be ready to go. Maybe it'll be a little more frizzy because it is day 2, but it's not too bad. And actually adding steam can kind of help with the frizz, which seems counterintuitive because steam is humidity, and humidity tends to cause curly and wavy hair to frizz. However, because it is concentrated and you can do it for as long as you need, and it kind of gets it a little bit damp to the point where it's actually beneficial humidity. So try steam out first, and if you don't have any kind of steamer, you can definitely use the steam from a hot shower. Take a shower, stand in there with your hair uncovered after you've taken a shower and it's not going to get completely wet, and just let your hair soak up the steam from the bathroom or in the shower area and see if that helps as well. And if the steam doesn't do what you want it to do, you can spot refresh with different products. There are 2 products from Washdays that they recently came out with that I absolutely love for refreshing, and I did a video about it right up here if you'd like to check that out and see those in action. And you can also use a tiny amount of gel in the palm of your hand, mix it with some water, and either spot treat or very lightly just go over entire sections of your hair. And oftentimes that's enough to help control the frizz, and then add just enough water to your hair to help revert some of those curls back to their original shape. And for the most part, these are the types of refreshes that I would recommend most. If you're completely wetting hair down, putting more product on it, and essentially starting your whole styling process all over again, that kind of defeats the whole purpose of refreshing your hair. My thoughts on that are you might as well at that point just wash your hair and start all over, because as long as you're already going through the process, you're going to be adding all those extra products instead of running the risk of just really weighing your hair down with too many products. It just makes more sense just to wash everything off and then start with fresh, clean hair and start the process all over again. So I would definitely recommend trying to spot treat as little as possible and just really kind of focusing on some of the more problem areas versus completely wetting everything down and starting all over. Tip number 4 is to do some cute hairstyle options. There's a lot of different ways that you can put your hair kind of half up or just one side up. So if you have a spot that's like not looking so good, I've got this spot right here that it always is like this. It literally just doesn't want to do anything. So you can kind of bring that back and put it up, do something with like a little jaw clip. Jaw clips are great. They come in multiple sizes, and they hold the hair very loosely, so you're not getting it really pulled tight, and it's less likely to cause any kind of traction alopecia that way. And you're not having to really manipulate your hair a whole lot. You can just kind of grab sections of it, pull it back, and put the jaw clip in, and it really couldn't be easier. And it works. It also helps keep the hair out of the face too. So you can do some kind of hairstyle like that, or put your hair all the way up, especially if it's summer and it's hot, or you're gonna be doing something active and sweating, putting your hair up. Again, jaw clips, they make really big ones to just put your hair all up, and they hold the hair nice and loosely, so you are able to kind of rescue it a little bit after you've put it up, because it's not completely stretching your hair all out as it would if it were something that's like kind of a regular hair tie that's gonna hold it a little bit tighter. Tip number 5 is actually going to be more about your expectations. And what I mean by that is, if you're going to expect your hair to look as good on day 3 or day 4 as it did on wash day, it isn't. And there might be some people who get that far and their hair looks really great, but everybody's hair is completely different. It responds completely different. Everybody sleeps differently. If you're somebody who is a wild sleeper, chances are your hair isn't really gonna last through all of that, no matter how much you try to protect it. I happen to be a wild sleeper, and a lot of times when I would wear bonnets, they would just come off in the middle of the night, or half off, half on, and so I'd have one side really frizzy and the other side not. So for me, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to expect my hair to look as good on day 3 or day 4 as what it does on wash day. And there are some products that can get me there, or at least get my hair to look pretty darn good on day 3 or day 4, but it still is gonna look different. It's gonna be a little bit more fuzzy, a little bit more frizzy, kind of fluffy, but I actually don't mind that. I don't mind the natural progression of where my hair starts and where my hair ends up. And depending on what I want my hair to look like on wash day, so if it is a little bit fluffier to start with, this isn't gonna last. It's gonna get pretty stretched out, but that's okay, because I can just rock a really stretched out, fluffy, kind of big hair thing. I'm okay with that. So if you learn to just accept your hair kind of as it is and its natural progression after it's been slept on, after it's been pulled back for whatever reason, after you've been outside and you've sweat or you've worked out or whatever, you're gonna be a lot happier with your hair overall if you just start having a more realistic expectation of what your hair can do and what it can't do. And it cannot look as good on day 4 with no intervention as it did on day 1. And even if you do intervene and you do some refreshing, it's probably still not going to look the same as what it did on wash day, because you're not doing the same things with it that you did on wash day. On wash day, you had freshly washed hair. It was nice and clean. You went through your whole styling process. You diffused your hair. You put in your serum. And of course, it's going to look less frizzy, it's going to look more defined, and the curls are going to be held really well. That isn't going to be the case when you're trying to refresh it on day 3 or day 4, and especially if you're using a minimal amount of products. And if you are using a lot more products, then what you're going to wind up with is some pretty kind of producty looking hair. It's probably going to start looking more stringy rather than defined if you've used a little too much. So find ways to just rock different looks throughout the week. So for instance, if you have looser waves and curls, your hair probably loses its curls and waves very easily. It gets very stretched out very easily. And you could buy some sea salt spray and give a good spray. The sea salt spray is going to help perk some of those waves and curls back up, but it's also going to add a little bit of texture. So if you've got wavy hair and you spray that on and you scrunch it up a bit, you're going to wind up with kind of a beachy, wavy look kind of going on. And there's nothing wrong with a beachy, wavy look. People with naturally straight hair will try to achieve that look with a curling iron and some salt spray. So you have it naturally on your head by just adding the salt spray and giving a scrunch, and you're good to go. And that's just one option. Another option is to kind of completely go against everything in the curly community and embrace the fluff by running your fingers through your hair. giving it kind of brushed out late 80s, early 90s, fluffy, permed, curly hair type vibe and making that a thing. Just make that a style. It isn't for everybody, but if your hair is going to do it anyway, why not just make it look like you intended for it to look like that? Run your fingers through, give it a good fluff, have kind of a nice big fluffy brushed out type thing. For some people, this can actually look really good. You can get kind of some, depending on your curl pattern or your wave pattern, you could wind up with some really nice kind of glamour 1940s waves out of it by just kind of running a brush loosely through your hair or running your fingers through your hair and doing a little bit of shaping with your fingers, adding some serum in there or a little bit of gel on your hands and kind of smoothing it over to help hold it all in place into its new formation. And you could have, you know, kind of a glamorous kind of style going on that you really hadn't intended, but looks pretty darn good and looks like you did intend to do that. I think it's pretty easy to get caught up in all the social media and what other people's hair looks like and think that that's what our hair is supposed to look like or should look like or something like that. And instead of like realizing that people might be looking at our own hair and they think that what we have is the example of what their goals are. So while we're busy not liking our hair and wanting what somebody else has, somebody else is liking what we have. So learn to embrace what your hair is doing, embrace how it is, and to be a little bit more relaxed about the expectations that you have from your hair. Make those expectations more realistic for your hair, for your curl pattern, your wave pattern, for your hair type, and for your lifestyle. If you live an active lifestyle, it may not be entirely realistic to think that your hair is going to look like wash day on every single day afterwards. It's probably going to be up a whole lot. And it might not be able to be rescued very easily on those days that you work out. And it's kind of odd that I really haven't spoke about this as much as what I should be on my channel, because this has been my philosophy throughout my 20 plus years of doing hair. I no longer work behind the chair. My shoulders and my back say absolutely not. We can't do that anymore. But my philosophy when I did work behind my chair with my clients was getting them to accept and embrace their hair for what it is, instead of trying to force it into something that it isn't. And it just, once you can learn to do that, and it can be really hard to do that. Trust me, I know it's very hard to look in the mirror and just be happy with what you see. But once you learn how to do that, you're going to be a lot less frustrated with your hair, and you're going to spend a lot less time and energy and money on multiple different products looking for a miracle cure. Now, if you're somebody who likes spending money on products and likes putting time and energy into your hair because your hair is kind of a hobby or a creative outlet, there is nothing wrong with that either. I like doing that. I like doing different things with my hair. I like putting these products in and making fluffy, bouncy hair that's nice and voluminous. I like seeing how defined and how much longevity I can get out of it. I like playing around with it. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with that either. But what I am saying is that learning how to love your hair for how it is in this moment is going to go a long way towards your overall satisfaction with your hair and with you in general. Apologies if that sounded a little bit on the preachy side. Hadn't really intended it to be that way, but I do feel it is a very important message. And part of self-acceptance is to accept your hair as it is. So enough of that. These were my tips for helping your hair to last between wash days. Hopefully you found this video helpful. If you like this video, please go ahead and hit that thumbs up. And as always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.